we're sitting here in a traffic jam. This is due to water that is over the road. Check this out. Water is still, oh wow, look at this. The water is still very high over here. We're in Nome, Texas. Wow. This is crazy. Dang. Wow. This place is still underwater.
Head south on 4th Street toward Louisiana Street, then turn left onto Louisiana. Head east on US 90 East toward 3rd Street. Continue on US 90 East for 18 miles.
Wow, Nome got hit hard, big time. After Tropical Storm Imelda pounded southeastern Texas, it only took a few days for some of the roads to dry up from the flooding it caused, but just enough for interstate drivers to detour onto US Highway 90 between Beaumont and Houston. I'm now just outside of Beaumont as I ran into UP 5581 West along the Houston subdivision at Meeker Road.
Road toward US 90 West.
The Houston subdivision is a pretty busy main line, as it sees, of course, UP, but also shares trackage rights with BNSF and KCS. All three railroads have a yard and run out of Beaumont, as well as Amtrak's Sunset Limited taking this route. As I was heading east, there were numerous trains tied down between Beaumont and Houston due to the recent flooding in the area. As for us travelers, I-10 was shut down, which made getting to Beaumont quite the challenge. It was hard enough for me to cross the street to get closer to the tracks, so I just recorded from the median. In this video, you will see all the trains I caught during my short time here in Texas, mainly around the Houston and Beaumont areas, as well as a few that I was able to capture in Louisiana. I didn't have much free time on this trip, not to mention it was right at the end of summer, but it was still very hot and very humid, but I got what I could get. Finally, after getting settled in, I actually happened to have a day off. So I took the opportunity to just explore around my hotel. At CPLF 253, there were 2 UP trains both tied down. It didn't look like any movement was happening anytime soon, so I moved towards the small town of Orange. Going over the Adams Bayou, you can still see how high the water level is from the storm. After driving around for a bit, I finally found a clear signal, but I didn't know how far out they were. So I kept on driving until I found UP's Orange Yard, a very small yard here. There was a pair of EMDs sitting outside of the depot, including UP GP 40-2 1451 and UP GP 60 1093. It wasn't until then the eastbound that was lined snuck up on me. I gave chase, but the traffic lights in Texas are not the greatest over here. It was a BNSF H train as they passed me going under I-10. I was able to get ahead just barely at the last crossing before crossing into Louisiana at CPLF 251 in the small community of Echo, Texas. BNSF 8027 East leads train H TPL LAL1. While sharing trackage rights with UP, they ran as QBTIJJ, running from Temple, Texas to Lafayette, Louisiana. Once they cleared my location, one of the UP trains I saw tied down earlier was getting a new crew, and was already departing by the time I got to the other end of the siding. I was able to get to a grade crossing on the other side of I-10 to shoot UP 7612 West, leading train OPQFP21, running from Plaquemine, Louisiana, heading to Freeport, Texas. was very, very hot that afternoon after spending a few hours trackside. I couldn't take much more of the heat. The next day, though, I get my first trip for work taking me to Houston. As I'm heading back towards Beaumont, there was a UP westbound showing off some smoke, slowly pulling towards Englewood Yard. I just shot them from the highway. Later that afternoon, I caught NS 9923 West with train MNSEW20, slowly passing through the small town of China, Texas, as they split the XSP tricolor signals at the east end of CPLF 293. This train comes from the Norfolk Southern in New Orleans, bound for Englewood Yard in Houston. The following day, I received a trip to Livonia, Louisiana. As I was heading back, I found an inbound local pulling into Livonia Yard, led by UP SD70M 4959. There was no way around this slow-moving train, as it was the only way for me to get to I-10 so I could head back towards Texas. But who said I was in a hurry? So I just sat and waited. On September 25th, after just dropping off a crew in Houston, I received word that UP 2001, the Olympic Torch Relay Unit, was in the vicinity. But first, I ran into UP 4589 with train ASP BVR 25, going across Cavalcade Street with empty auto racks for Brownsville, Texas. Not too long after did I surprisingly manage to find UP 2001 with train MYCEW. All I did was drive around, not knowing where I was going, then found the right main line and picked a spot, which was in between Parker Road and Downs Lane off of the Lufkin subdivision. This train comes from Yard Center in Dalton, Illinois, now finishing its journey to Englewood Yard here in Houston, Texas. I don't know how this worked out so perfectly. My thanks to Andrew Stevenson for giving me the heads up about this one. This was also my third time seeing UP 2001, leading at that. Even the Canadian National Unit made this for a colorful consist. I just wish I had my camera gear with me. On the 26th, I shot a UP eastbound passing through Orange with train AEG GN 23. On the 28th, I was waiting to pick up a crew at East Brimstone, as a mainline freight train was heading west with quite the consist. UPAC 44CW 6669 was on the point, followed by SD 40-2 1749 and SD 70 ACE 8502. They had just departed from Lake Charles, Louisiana, with a short journey heading to Beaumont, Texas. Early in the morning on September 30th, I was sent to assist the local crews working Orange Yard. As soon as I arrived at the yard office, UP 5387 West leads another Lake Charles to Beaumont mainline freight train. These trains appear to run right at daybreak. I was getting ready to assist this local, the LLG 10, having HLCX 1064, a leaser GP 38-2 for power. Their plan for the day was taking a load of boxcars to Mauriceville, Texas, where they will interchange to KCS, then return back to Orange later in the afternoon. Back at the depot, there was only one other train that ran during my shift, and that was BNSF 6752 East leading a unit train. After getting off work, I saw that Amtrak Train 1, the westbound Sunset Limited, was getting close. I pulled off, shooting them at Euler Road in the area of Orangefield, Texas. The Sunset Limited only runs 3 times a week, both east and west between Los Angeles and New Orleans. Starting off the month of October, I found while exploring the city of Beaumont the Neches River Bridge, controlled by Kansas City Southern. At this spot, Union Pacific would run with trackage rights to continue onto the Houston subdivision. Amtrak Sunset Limited Train 2 had just departed Beaumont Station heading east for New Orleans as they crossed the Neches River. I also happened to stumble upon a UP local crossing Texas Highway 380. Notice the interesting railroad crossing sign above saying train when flashing. But of course, when the crossing activated, it didn't flash. After receiving news from my job that I was being sent home, I spent my last few free hours I had around the Beaumont area that morning, starting out at KCS's Beaumont Yard. I spotted KCS GP40-2 WL2906 in gray paint, and KCS GP40-3 2843 tied down at the north end of the yard. I've never seen a Jeep wide cab before, and even though there wasn't a crew, I still wanted to make memory of this unique engine. I then went for downtown Beaumont, where a majority of rail traffic passed through this one spot on the west side of the Neches River. UP 7795 was crossing the Port of Beaumont Railroad at CP Station 14, as they head for their own trackage towards Beaumont Yard. KCS had UP 8174 lined across the river towards their own tracks, splitting off at UP Junction. This is train MLDLI-01 running out of Port Laredo, Texas, bound for Livonia, Louisiana. Within about 20 minutes, another UP eastbound followed right behind, again lined across the Neches River by KCS. This is UP 7153 with train MAGLI-02, also heading for Livonia, but running out of Angleton, Texas. The last train for me before heading off to the airport was a nice capper for the trip. KCSM 4750 East leads KCS train MSZSH, a manifest freight train out of Sanchez, Mexico to Shreveport, Louisiana. Unfortunately, my time was cut short here in Texas. I had a great time out here, but also couldn't wait to get back home. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Leave all of your comments in the comment section below and tell me what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, and for notifications on the next upload, hit that notification bell. Until next time, so long from Beaumont, Texas, along the Kansas City Southern Beaumont subdivision.